Good afternoon. My name is Charles Felix, the publisher and owner of Cannabis News Florida. And today we have the honor of being able to talk with Sara Sullivan and Peter Gallagher from Insa Cannabis. Insa has been in Florida since I think 2002, making a strong move here, having 10 locations. The most recent one is in Orlando, in Florida. But they hail from Massachusetts, and some of the things we're going to talk about today is what happens to the medical industry as a conversion to adult use or rec, whichever you want to call it, in the market. So first, let me introduce Sara. Sara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi there, I'm Sara Sullivan. I am the VP of Retail at Insa. I've been here 3 years now, which is wild to think about. It's gone by so fast. And have been a part of the launch in Florida. So it's been really exciting to see our growth over the last couple of years. And it was even before I started Insa in the works. So I focus on everything from the real estate to our in-store design and experience, our training, and how we bring it to life in stores with our merchandising. So anything at retail, I'm usually a part of.
That's great. That's great. And Peter, who is the CEO and founder, co-founder, we've talked with Peter before, maybe a couple of years back, trying to get an update from Peter too. But Peter, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my childhood friend and business partner, we started the company in 2013. And we started originally in Massachusetts, where we're from. And then over the years, we've expanded into Pennsylvania, Florida, Ohio, and this year we'll be opening up in Connecticut. And we're grateful for all the success we've had and the great team that we built.
That's great. That's great. So we're going to focus a little bit today on, obviously focus a lot on Florida and focus on, as I mentioned earlier, the transition that happened in Massachusetts a while back. Let's talk about Florida first, and then we'll get into the others. So tell us a little bit about your thinking, Sara and Peter, about your expansion into the Florida market. Florida is a strange state. Florida could take you from, I guess, from Key West to Pensacola if you're driving, could take you almost a full day to be able to get there. I've done it from Fort Lauderdale to Pensacola, and it's a good 10 to 12 hour trip by car. There is no easy way to go unless you fly. So tell us how you plan to kind of cover the state, because if you're coming in the cannabis business, you really do need to cover the entire state. So what's your strategy behind that?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, we want to stay central because that's where our home base is located and where our grow is. We want to make sure that we kind of radiate it off from Central Florida. And we've done a focus on the central and north is where we've been. We've not gone south yet. And we'll continue to expand in those existing markets just until we're saturated and we feel like we have rounded out our fleet completely. We have the 10 locations now again, which is just wild to say that we're in double digits now, and with our Lee Road location. So it's right off of the I-4, easy on-off access to Lee Road there at the first light. It's a great location. We're super excited to add that one to our fleet. It was definitely not last, but not least being last, but we are really excited to have that one open, and the team there is top notch. So that was one that we wanted to make sure we got in there. And then we have a new concept we're going to pilot later this year. In our Tampa market that we're really excited about, that we'll be, can't talk too much about yet, but we're going to have that coming in the back end of the year. So we'll continue to evaluate our markets, but we're also very slow and steady. We want to make sure we're really smart about where we go and it's the right locations for our patient base.
Smart business move. You expand too quickly and you have too much overhead, and all of a sudden business begins to collapse on you. So I agree with you 100%. Peter, what you guys have to come up with the money to do all this stuff. So
yeah, so our approach to Florida is we've tried to be really thoughtful. This is a really tough industry in general, just all the different aspects that you have to manage. And so really what we've tried to do with the entire business and especially in Florida is just try to simplify it. And from a retail perspective and a rollout of new sites, we thought from an operational perspective, it'd be better, in a new market, especially one that's farther away, to really kind of cluster stores and really centralize in certain areas and then build out from there. So that's why, right now, while there's lots of Florida's a huge state, lots of exciting markets and lots of places where we want to go. Initially, we're going to focus on the markets, that north central Florida markets, and really just try to fill in. And it's a dynamic space. I mean, there's a lot of new stores popping up all over the place. So we're looking to, look for pockets that make sense for our business, and then, provide additional access to consumers and patients. So,
there's no shortage of stores, being 627 as of the end of last week. The report will come out this week. I'm not sure if it'll jump or not, but 627 is a big number to cover the state of Florida. I guess there are some cities, as you found when you come into this, everybody's in one city, and you can't believe that every other block there's another dispensary, and then you go to some places and there's nobody there. So it is a very, very interesting and dynamic market for people to really think about. Tell me about your products, product-wise. What's everybody has. I remember going back in 2022, you were one of the first to really introduce a great chocolate product. I do remember that specifically. I did try it at the time, and it was a great product. So what else do you have coming out these days that's going to set you aside from others?
So we have a lot of focus on new cultivars. So in Q2 alone, we'll have 19 new cultivars that we're launching. One that we're super excited about is the Platinum Lemon Cherry Gelato. It's a sativa-leaning hybrid. It's going to be something our patients will love. It's got a great bag appeal. It's candy terps. It's super frosty. We're really excited for everyone to get to see that and try it. So that's one that we're really excited to launch here in Q2. And then something else for us is solventless edibles. We have 3 new flavors. We're launching solventless edibles, and it'll be in 3 flavor offerings, which we're also excited to provide to patients.
So you must have a pretty active kitchen, I would imagine, in your in your grow area. So
yes, well, and as you know, like our chocolates have always been something that.
Oh, I know they're great. They're great.
Yeah, and so that's we just keep rounding out the edibles collection.
One of the solventless edibles that we're rolling out is a lemon flavor, and it's really delicious. It's almost like a gelée, and it's almost like a limoncello shot. It's really, really nice flavor. Texture-wise, I think it's fantastic. It's almost like a melt in your mouth, and the effect is fantastic. You get that full spectrum effect that you get from flower from that. So we're really excited about rolling.
What's the onset time-wise on that? About
it's relatively quick, so it's about 30 minutes onset.
Really? That's great. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the more edibles, solubles are really getting quicker rather than the edibles. I guess the problem I've always found people with edibles is, I would say the newbies in it don't realize that it may take an hour and a half to 2 hours for the edible to really take place, and they keep on taking them. So when an hour and a half or 2 hours come out, they're really experiencing something they probably didn't want to experience. So I like the onset early because that's what people are expecting.
Yeah. And that's where, I mean, we've heard that story over and over again, and that's why we invest a lot in educating our staff so that they can educate patients and consumers about not only the benefits of the products, but the risks of the products and how to consume them safely and responsibly.
So is it, and just as I want to go deep into Sarah's mind now, strategic looking, is where do you see yourself, if you can, say by the end of the year? You're at 10 stores now, you're going to be at 15, be 30, 20, 50, 100, what's your plan? What do you see yourselves towards the end of the year, just as a crystal ball?
Yeah, no, like I said, we're slow and steady, so we'll have 11 at the end of the year. So and with it being a new concept, we're really dedicating a lot of energy into that one and getting it right, since it's a slightly different offering than what we have today from a service model perspective. So it'll only be one more for us, just because we like to be very methodical and making sure that we still deliver the same experience that you would have at any of our stores. So that's the one that's one and done for the balance of the year for Florida.
That's good. I mean, I really do like that, rather than seeing people kind of open up all over. And I think also part of the issue sometimes when you open up stores too quickly, you don't have enough product in your stores. And what happens is you start disappointing customers rather than pleasing customers when they're coming in to buy a product that's not there. So I think you're doing the right thing until you really have that supply to be able to supply 20 or 30 stores. It's very tough.
Yeah, agreed. And I think to Pete's point, we take our training very seriously and making sure that all of our associates are trained. Like we have our training Tuesdays. We have a really robust program we have for all of our retail associates. And so that's where we want to, while we have 10 locations, we also continue to evolve with what we're doing and the services we're providing to our existing patient base and how we operate in our stores. So that's where we'll continue to evolve and grow with our existing fleet, and won't look at rapid expansion at this point for 24.
Do you have also a delivery model included with that? Do you deliver out to people?
We did pilot that, and then went away from it. We're going to focus on more on the in-store experience.
Okay.
We find a lot of patients like to ask questions, and that the model just works better if you're in our environment.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go into the main question I really want to get into, because I think it's on the mind of really everybody who's the 800 and let me take a look at my number here. I don't want to 877,178 patients in the state of Florida as of last Friday that are thinking of, well, I like medical. I got my medical card. But what happens when adult comes in and how does that affect me? And there are some people out there that think, well, if there are 877,000 patients right now, there's probably 5 million users out there, which I thought was an interesting number, but that was thrown out to me the other day. So take me through Massachusetts, Peter. You know, you started your business up there. You lived it, you breathed it. I'm sure you had your ups and your downs. But tell us how, when you started, what happened when the vote was about to come through, when it came through, the usage, and then as you stand today in Massachusetts, and the pros and the cons per se as for the medical business.
Sure. So adult use, actually, the medical market, medical cannabis was legalized in 2013, I believe, in Massachusetts, and the program developed shortly thereafter, with stores opening and supply coming online. The adult use market, or adult use cannabis, was legalized, I believe, in late 2016. And so that was actually before we started operating. It was either 2016 or 2017. And so that was before we actually started, opened our first store in Massachusetts. So it was a very dynamic time, and we weren't sure how that was going to impact. We had a business plan for the medical market. We weren't really anticipating adult use. And so there's a lot of uncertainty on our end on how that was going to impact our medical business and our overall business. So we launched our first store in the first quarter of 2018 as a medical provider, and operated for a full year as med only, and then the adult use market started to come online in 2018, 2019. So we had a short period where we were operating as a medical only business, and it's a much smaller market, just because I think what happens is there's a lot of hoops or a lot of steps that a patient has to go through to get certified in Massachusetts and also in other states. So they have to go to their doctor, they have to get a certification from the doctor, then they have to go to the state and get a card from the state before they can go to a dispensary. So when adult use opened up, it was obviously much larger volumes, which helped our business. And what we found is, over time, we saw people convert from the medical market to the adult use market. The medical market's held up reasonably well in Massachusetts, and it's an important part of our business and one that we're committing to continue to invest in. In fact, we opened up our third medical store in Mass just last year in Avon, Massachusetts. And it's a really nice part of our business. And I think that what we found is it's really two different customer types. And so what we've tried to do is create different experiences that are tailored to those medical patients, and service their needs, and have different customer experiences for the adult use market as well. And so we plan to bring that same model down to the Florida market and continue to serve the medical patients. But we would continue to think that that's going to be a really strong, robust market for the foreseeable future. And I think what adult use does is it obviously opens up, cannabis to, true recreational consumers. But I think it also opens the medical side of that market as well. In that if there's a lot of people that don't know if they want to pay for the card or the certification to become a med patient because they're not sure if cannabis is going to be the right treatment for them or therapy. And in an adult use market, you can get similar products, sometimes the same products that you can get in the medical market, but it's easier to access and try. So if you have more of an acute condition, maybe it's some pain or something like that, that you want to try cannabis instead of another therapy, it's a lot easier and the cost of trialing that's a lot lower. So we actually see a lot of people coming into our adult use stores in Massachusetts looking at cannabis for certain ailments, and actually coming at the referral of sometimes physicians or nurses that are under their care. And then longer term, what we see is there's definitely benefits to continue to be a medical patient, and we'll have to see how this plays out in Florida. But if it follows a similar path in Massachusetts, there's an economic benefit to the patient in that they don't have to pay sales tax on cannabis products if they're medical. And then there's also different form factors that are more appropriate for the medical market than they are for the adult use market, specifically higher dose edibles. So in Mass, there's no limit on the amount of THC in a package for medical. And so you have higher unit dosage products for medical than you do for the adult use. That for someone that has, a severe condition, it may be more appropriate to take a 10 milligram you have 10 milligram or 20 milligram or 50 milligram edible that's not offered in the adult use market, but would be available in the medical market. So I think there really are two different distinct markets, and you can see the adult use market, if it's done properly, almost be help to grow the medical market longer term. I think it takes a lot of education to the patients, to the customers, and population at large.
Pat, did you find an overall percentage or what percentage drop in medical patients when adult use or where it is today? Was there a growth? And I understand what you're saying, because that is a good point, that people don't want to invest going to see a doctor, paying the state and everything else and trying something. But if it works, you're better off getting your card because it comes out economically cheaper if you're going to use it on a consistent basis. But did you see a major drop in patients registered with the state or not?
So we have seen at a global level across Massachusetts, there has been a decline in patients. I think it's tough to tell how much of that was due to adult use versus other factors. So, for instance, when COVID hit, we saw a lot of people sign up, and there was a big increase in medical certifications. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we saw a lot of people, tail off. So I think you will, inevitably there's going to be some people that maybe don't use as much cannabis, where they don't, the benefits of paying for a card aren't necessarily there. But I think the bigger opportunity, I think, for our industry is educating the population at large about the benefits of cannabis and how it might be able to help them. And this is a category that affects or can help a lot of people that have chronic conditions. So this can be an ongoing, treatment or therapy, and one in which, can get quite expensive. So looking for opportunities to save by not maybe having to pay the sales tax and get medical card, I think that becomes a really interesting value proposition to patients. And so I think the more people we can educate as an industry and as a company about the benefits of cannabis, the more you could see growth long term, and that's kind of what we expect in the medical market, growth long term in that. And so that's why in Massachusetts, we continue to invest in that market by opening up new stores and developing new products. And we'll do the same in Florida.
Now, you mentioned that you opened up a medical location. In Massachusetts, are there two separate, you don't sell medical and adult use out of the same store? You have to have two separate stores?
So we can do it. There's two models, and we operate both. We have a hybrid store where we've sectioned it off. We have a section that's adult use and a section that's medical, but it's the same building.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have two stores that are standalone medical stores. So the store that we just opened is a standalone medical store. And what we found sometimes is that the customer journey or the patient journey for a patient versus customer can be very different. And there's patients that may not want to shop in a co-located store because whatever condition they have, that they might not want in that environment, and they might want to ask some more questions and spend some more time purchasing. And so when you're in a higher volume adult use store, that can be intimidating for some people. And so that was the thrust behind opening up standalone medical stores and keeping those standalone medical stores rather than merging them into a single co-located adult medical store.
Now, in Massachusetts, if you are in the business, do you have to be in both, or can you just be in medical or just be in adult use?
No, now you can. There's various license types, and you're not required to be in the medical business. So you could open up today and just open an adult use dispensary or an adult use cultivation facility. There's no requirement to be in the medical program.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if you do operate co-located stores, there is a requirement to maintain the same inventory for both of those customers. And that's what we do. We spend a lot of time and energy and just to make sure that our medical patients are served appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot goes into our service model there too, just to make sure that we're able to provide different service levels for those patients and our customers there, and making sure that they are able to, if it is a patient who wants to ask more questions, the staff is trained really well to be able to pull them aside and take them through a really consultative experience so they can ask questions about products that might be relevant to them. And then same thing, if we have perhaps a rec customer who wants to get in and out very quickly, they can. And then we have a hybrid model too we offer, so that if you come in and you want to have that consultative experience and the one-on-one with a retail associate, you can, and take your time and get all of your questions answered. But if you want the privacy then of placing an order on a tablet, you can do that if you would like it to be more private. So we do have different sales, experience models we use, and it's really about how our retail associate reads the customer and interacts with them and finds out what they're looking for, and then we cater the experience based on their feedback.
Nice. In the adult use market, how does that work in Massachusetts? So, do you have to be a resident of Massachusetts, or if I was traveling up there, could I just go in? How would I go about buying in your rec market, your adult use market?
You would come in and we check your ID. If you have a valid ID, you can come in and shop with us. So if you're traveling there, you can come in and shop with us at our recreational facilities.
Now, does that information get transmitted to the state anyway, or is just checking an ID?
We do scan it. So yeah, it's an ID scan that we do. And then once you get your ID scanned, you come right in and we can take you through the same experience that any resident there could go through.
Is there a limitation on the amount as a rec patient that you could buy, jumping maybe from dispensary company to company, MMTC to MMTC? Or is it monitored, I guess is the question.
It is monitored. There are daily limits.
There are daily limits. So in other words, so once your scan or your information goes into a state database, you're registered with a database in the state. So the state knows what you're buying and that type of stuff. So
for adult use?
For adult use.
So no. It's a requirement by the company to ensure that you're not over serving customers. So they have a 1 ounce allotment for the day,
Uh-huh.
So that's something that we impose, and we're held accountable to by the state, but there's no state tracking system. So if you came in and shopped in our store, your name isn't going into some database with what you purchased. The state it does have that regulation that they can't sell over an ounce to one person per day. And so that's on us as a company to make sure that we don't do that.
But say it happens down here, could you jump from dispensary to dispensaries, different companies, and still buy that 1 ounce in Massachusetts?
So without a centralized system, would be able to go, and you can do that in Massachusetts today. So if you come and buy in our store an ounce, there'd be no way of us to know whether they were going to go to the guy down the street. That may be on a totally different system. It's not tied into the centralized state system to shop. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Because down here they were thinking, or I guess the word is thinking that they may be monitored by the state as it is on the medical market, just to control output to a certain degree, which is not a bad idea, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think people enjoy their privacy, and
Right.
I think especially with something like cannabis, I think that can be something that's puts people off. So
Right.
I would hope that this is treated similar to alcohol and other adult use products, where it's not necessarily tracked.
Right. But you have limitations that you could buy within a certain dispensary. Then is that set by the state or set by you?
I think the state should set the regulations in terms of how much we're able to sell to the consumer, and I think you should put that on the operator to make sure that they're not overserving their customers.
Sure. Okay.
But I think you could hamper the growth in the adult use market and continue to feed the illicit or black market by imposing tracking component to the adult use market.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of people who might have wanted to use as a medical, but really didn't like the whole idea of being tracked by the state and knowing how much you purchased, when you purchased it, and how many times you're going back and forth and getting it. So I can see, and I'm not sure how that'll shake out in the state of Florida. I haven't heard really. They haven't really given any hints on how their system would work. At least I haven't heard any.
We'll have to see, and that's the challenge with some of these conversions is you don't know what the regulations will look like. But the good thing now is that we at least have multiple precedents of like what's worked well in other states, and I would hope that Florida in their due diligence would look at what other states have done and what's worked and what hasn't worked, and learn from that.
So you said you were in Ohio also now? You just went into Ohio?
We are. We have a location in Willoughby Hills, which is East Cleveland. So we have our one location there that we also opened last year.
Now that's old medical, and they just converted to adult use, didn't they? Didn't they pass adult use?
It did pass, but
it's not in practice yet.
No, not yet.
Okay. That would be another challenge, is one I'd say. So once the legislative people get their fingers on things, it's amazing how things change. So anyway, so I really appreciate your time and doing this. And Sarah, I do remember in the back of my head is now planted there that you got something coming up that you don't really want to talk about now, but I'd be very interested in when you want to talk about, Sarah. I don't forget about things like that. So please keep me in mind when that's going on. Give me a heads up. We'd be glad to do another interview with you and get something in our website publication for you on that. And appreciate your time being here. And I'm just going to end the recording right now for everybody to listen to. And we will thank you again. Thank you for coming by today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Charles.
Thanks.
Okay.